Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast,
Yes,
The Anchor of
your
the Week.
favorites. Yes, we are buzzing to be back today.
Yes.
We missed last week,
Yeah.
didn't we? We did.
That's why it felt like it's been such a long time since we've done
it does
this.
feel like that a little bit. But yeah, we missed last week. Just
Life.
Yeah, that is a good way to sum it up. Yeah, but we're back.
Yeah.
So let's focus on what we're at today.
Yes, and we are back for another episode of our current series, On the Fringe, where we are talking about life outside of the normal, outside of the
Yes.
mainstream.
Yeah.
We love this topic.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways we could go with it.
Yes.
But we're going today.
This way.
This way. To our left.
Yeah. We kind of last week or a couple weeks ago, we discussed just going against the mainstream and just not conforming into that kind of what society tells us and everything like that. And today we've got a guest on who has very much, I guess, done that and practiced that almost, hasn't he? Yeah. Do you want to introduce that, I guess? I'll let you do this because, yeah, you're opening. But anyway,
yeah, he's
Sam.
giving me my... Yes, this
Hello.
is our close friend, Sam.
Yeah, legend.
He's a homie. Okay, yeah. I meant that in all due respect.
Yeah. He's
But yeah, we go back a few years with Sam.
Yep.
We started going to our church, actually, Hope and Anchor. Those of you that are in London that know that, or from around the world that know that about our church. But Sam has got a super cool story. And
Yeah.
basically today we'll be talking about how he went against the grain, against the mainstream of even like in our families. He was raised Muslim and is now a Christian, which is going quite against the grain, if you will, for your
hugely.
family.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we're going to really dive into that story, and maybe you don't like specifically relate to this exact situation, but I think that there are, things in our lives that maybe we're going against what our families either taught us or what we just accepted as truth a lot of times when we are raised in families, and that's what you do. You believe that the way that you were raised is like the right and the only way. But yeah, so maybe, I don't know, whoever's listening to this will find something that I just kicked over Zach's mic.
All good. We're all good.
But yeah, hopefully you'll find something that you relate to in this or that you can kind of take from because I think it's a very important conversation that we have.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sam, give us some background, mate, because obviously used to be a Muslim and used to, and you were telling us before the episode that you just used to do it all. Like
you've been to Mecca, you've done the whole pilgrimage.
Yeah, you've done it all, man. So just give us a bit of context, like.
Okay.
Yeah, help us understand.
Well, I think the best thing to do is to start off by saying that I was raised in a Muslim family. I'm the first of 5, and essentially when being raised by a mother who's quite dedicated to the religion, I didn't really have a choice in the matter. It was pretty much you go by mum's rules and you follow faith the way you've been taught.
Yeah.
Even when I would resist, unfortunately, my mum never really gave me a choice as to whether or not I could partake in ceremonial or like classes. So, yeah, it wasn't easy. But it was through my own experiences of faith within Islam and learning about it within Islam and within like a Muslim setting to where like I became independent. I had a little bit more freedom. I was agnostic for a little bit. Didn't really know which direction God was in, but I didn't see that connection with God in an Islamic way.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't try. I've been trying for a long time. And unfortunately, I just didn't find it through like prayer or through Islamic teachings.
Yeah.
I know people, have human error, and there's always human mistakes that people make. However, I've seen a lot of behaviors within an Islamic setting that shouldn't have occurred, and I didn't approve certain details of Islamic methods and ways to go about life. I didn't fully understand or approve. So
Yeah.
I'm an open book.
Well, talk to me, because I mean, you said like it wasn't a choice and things like that. So, like, give us a bit more of an insight. Because was it just a case of like your mum's telling you to do this, so you just do it? Like, did you ever have questions yourself, or did you ever kind of think? I guess because especially with the things that we talk about, it's like are we actually thinking about the decisions we're making? Because there's a lot of things that we just do just because it's what everyone else does, almost, you know? So there must have been some of that, especially in a family setting that's super intense, super close. Or my brothers and my sisters and my parents are doing it, so I'm just going to follow along. Did you ever ask yourself, like, do I actually think these things and believe these things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nearly all the time. How do you understand what it is that you truly believe? Is it authentic?
Yeah.
Is it something that really resides within you? Have you seen proof of God working in your life? That is the questions that you have to ask yourself. And when I was in the scenario that I was in, it was almost like I was being oppressed. So it's something that was my calling. The ethos was drilled into me from a very young age. And it was that God is one and God is oneness, which is partially true. But at the same time, there was no true, relationship between God and Jesus. Sure. Like, now all Muslims believe in Jesus, but the relationship between God and Jesus is that he was a messenger, not that he was the son of God. And then essentially when he was put on the cross, he actually wasn't killed. He was replaced by someone made to look in Jesus' image. Yeah. That's what is on the Islamic faith, essentially. That's what people believe from an Islamic perspective. So my journey into Christianity actually happened within a year, maybe a year and a bit. Right. I first started out...
Is that a year and a bit ago? Is
from
it like,
now.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
And
Okay.
my journey from the beginning to where I am right now has been immense. But it all started essentially when I decided it was time for me to leave my parents' house. But from that point onwards, I knew that I wasn't going to identify with Islam because it wasn't for me. Everything that correlated around Islam wasn't what I agreed. I didn't think that, this was the appropriate way to go about living my life in a religious aspect with worshipping God. So I was agnostic for about 4 or 5 years. Right. I didn't understand the relationship between me and God, nor did I understand the details between the way God was represented in my life or what God wanted from me. Yeah. So I was in that mystery. And within that time, I had a void inside me. I knew that there was something missing. I didn't know how to go about doing it, how to go about connecting myself with God, and all I was doing really was filling myself with worldly desires. Yeah.
What was the case with your family at that time? Obviously, is this an open discussion with them, being like, look, I'm not really sure about this at the moment, and all that sort of stuff? Or was it kind of more like you just kept it to yourself and you just crack on with life?
I'd visit the house and my mum would give me her preaching, which I know where it comes from. Sure. It comes from love. It comes from wanting you to go to heaven. That our relationship with religion was not the same. It wasn't really, I'd say, authentic from my part. Sure. It was just playing a part to please her, and we love our family members, and our parents can be our biggest weaknesses, especially if you want to go about worshipping the way you want to worship and it doesn't correlate with the way your parents see fit, then you're going to have trouble. It's a tough area. It is a very tough area. It becomes very complicated because you love your parents. Well, I do anyway. Yeah. Not everyone loves their parents, but I have a lot of respect for my mum and dad, regardless of, maybe the downfalls that they have. Yeah. I love them a lot. Yeah. Regardless of whatever direction I'm going in, I still know that I'll be able to talk to my mum and dad, even though she doesn't approve of what I do. Yeah.
And was there a moment, when you decide, okay, it's not right for me. That moment, was it kind of like a slow process, or was there a breaking point or anything that was no, I'm agnostic now, essentially. Was there anything like that, or was it just it's kind of a natural thing for you?
Yeah, it was basically not being able to truly express myself within my home setting. I tried my best to kind of just say, look, I'm not really all in on this. I need to actually go out and see where my true calling is. to kind of experiment, to maybe see. I was even going to like consider maybe trying some form of discipline or like maybe martial art or something like that.
Sure.
Right. But
that's so interesting. Like experimenting, I find it so interesting. When you're in that space, it's like you just give anything a go, right? I mean, martial arts is not a big deal, but I don't know, it's so interesting to me. I love it. It's like, okay, I'm going to try things just to figure stuff out. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Okay.
I don't know why it's so cool.
It's all good. Essentially, it's like you don't know where you're going in life, right? But you know that there's a void. There's something there that needs that not only from a logical perspective, you need to know what happens after death or if anything happens after death. Yeah. And from a spiritual perspective, you feel like there's something inside you that's missing, so you don't know what that is. So you might go out, start drinking, maybe spend time with friends, or maybe have, a love-hungry life, or maybe drugs, or maybe it could be anything, right? Yeah, man, and so you do your best to try to fill that void, and you end up in different scenarios. When it was alcohol for me, I'd go to the pub, I'd come back broke, wasted, and just be like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just wasting my money, wasting my time. People smell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's unfortunate, but
people do
you're in a grimy environment where it's like sexual influences here and there.
Yeah.
And, every guy's out to get, they're trying to get that bird, and every girl's trying to go and get, something else. And it's just, I knew that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be involved in that environment. I'd feel awkward eventually, especially like once I accepted Christ, I knew I wasn't going to be in that kind of scenario again. Yeah. So long story short, when I originally knew that Islam wasn't for me was when it was, very early, I think. I always knew that I had something related to Christ. Yeah. I didn't know what. It was something passive. When I was in school, I joined the choir. When I was like really small, I played Joseph in Christmases. When I was agnostic, I used to go to my friend's house and we'd celebrate Christmas with him for like the past 4 or 5 years. Wow. But come COVID, like I wasn't able to go to his house because his grandparents are quite scared of it, so they're quite fearful. But then again, I've always kind of felt like I've got connection there. There's something going on. Even my trade is as a carpenter. You know what I mean? So it's like...
Oh, that's so funny.
The Christ connection. There it is.
Yeah. It's like, all right, something's going on, I was introduced to Christianity through Hope and Anchor. I was just hanging out with a friend in Camden. Literally, I was just having a drink, just by the lock, and just having a discussion. And someone approached me with some biscuits, and I said, all right, yeah, I'll take one. And he asked me for help. He asked me to... help him find a job. I said, no worries, I'll help you find a job. He was an immigrant. Unfortunately, he didn't have any papers. So I felt bad for him because he was in a scenario where he was homeless, he couldn't feed himself, and he was just like in a really desperate situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll help you. I've got an app. You can use the app to do some deliveries, and take it from there. And then from there, he asked me to come have a cup of tea, to where he took me to a tent. And that tent...
The big famous yellow tent.
The yellow tent.
Yo, the yellow tent of Camden. Took me to the tent, and I was then introduced to Urine and the team that was at the tent right next to Think. Think Coffee and Ink.
Yeah, plug.
Just
big
a plug in.
Out, yeah.
Huge. And from that point onwards, I was like... Oh, I'm approving of what you guys do. So cool. I want to find out more. Can I help? Can I serve? And Urine just gave me the helm, and I was taking control of that. I was really happy. And I just love to serve. Like, it just felt great, but it also had something more to it. Once I was getting more and more involved with Hope and Anchor, I came to the Connect groups where I met Eric, and I was so envious because you guys had something I didn't, which was a connection to God, which was faith. Wow. And I wanted it.
Yeah.
The good kind of envy.
Yeah, it's that's the good kind of envy. It's like, I suppose, not for materialistic things.
Sure. So okay, now you've obviously been making these decisions about faith and stuff like that, like going into Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us, like, what was it like with your family then at that point? Because this is obviously very different to what they're up to and doing and believing. So, talk us through that. I mean, there must have been opposition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My dad didn't care. He's like, as long as you're happy, do what you want.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
My mum was absolutely disappointed.
Right.
And that hurt me. Obviously, I love my mum. I've mentioned that already. But she was not happy with what I was doing at all. She called me a murtad, which, if any of you know Arabic, it means a traitor. And my brother called me a kafir. And even subtly now, I get these hints and messages like, oh, what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing is wrong. So, you know, it's a little bit of shame and a little bit of, like, just trying to communicate with my family can be very, very difficult. And yeah, sometimes I'm just an avoidant type. So, like, if they start trying to bring up stuff, I'm like, I'd much rather not talk about it. This is, you know, relationship between me and God. I don't want to get into a sticky conversation. Then there's going to be, you know, words being flown around everywhere. And I'd much rather avoid the whole disassociation between me and my family. Last thing I want to have is my mum telling me that I can't associate myself with my sister because of what I believe.
Right.
So I love my family very much.
Yeah.
But I respect their beliefs as well as mine.
Yeah. Do you think that like you becoming agnostic and then becoming Christian, do you think between the two, like, did you find one had more like tension with your family than the other, or
in what sense?
Like when you were like decided to become agnostic, was that more acceptable like to your family, or was Christianity more acceptable because it was like you were still believing in something? Like,
it's much like how in Christianity you are Christian, but you are not living a Christian lifestyle. You know what I mean? You accepted Jesus. You're covered by Jesus. Whatever you do is fine. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that kind of mentality where, you know, whatever you do, you know you're covered. Doesn't matter. Yeah. But
go on living your life.
That's the thing. That's the issue is when you accept Jesus, you should live the life that he seeks you to live. You shouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'm covered, so, you know, I've got that insurance policy, I'm chill. No, you need to like be practicing in the ways of Jesus. You should be practicing in the ways of the Bible, right? So regardless of what your belief is, the last thing I wanted to associate myself with was superiority. So your question was regarding that period of when I was agnostic. That was more acceptable to my family because they saw me in that phase of he's Muslim, but he's just not practicing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
For like, because, when I was in Turkey, a lot of my friends who I would, like Turkish friends and stuff, obviously they would classify themselves as Muslim and things like that, but it was purely just because their family was just Muslim as well. And honestly, it's probably the same for their parents, and it just keeps going. It's just tradition almost, rather than actual like connection and things like that.
It's family pressure.
Yeah, I mean, is that? Do you see that in your family, like in your brothers and sisters, or do you think they've got it more than? I mean, and it's interesting actually because you were saying like you've gone there, and you have gone all in this. From what it sounds like it's not like you've just taken theirs on. You've actually gone to
Mecca.
Yeah.
Which I would love for you to also like elaborate on, because I think that is so
Mecca and Medina.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like you've gone in and you've just taken it on. You've actually searched for like, is this for you? You know, like, is this something that you actually believe in? But that's not the case for everyone. So I don't know. It's just interesting. Do you think, with at least in your family, do you see that it's just a case of like this is actually personal for them and that it's something that they believe in, or is it just something that they've just almost inherited and picked up from their parents?
Could be a bit of both.
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel that where they are now is that they're quite... being the first one, my mum tried to drill it into me deep.
Yeah.
Right? So I would go to Arabic school. I used to do Quran lessons at home. I used to listen to tapes of just Quran. And I know a lot by heart now. I also know some of the hadiths, which is essentially the message of the Sahaba, which means the followers of Muhammad and the friends of Muhammad.
Yeah.
Right. And I understand what the message is behind it. And it is very similar to Christianity in most aspects. But at the same time, is that there are details which prohibit you from doing certain things, such as drinking. Yet in Turkey, I'm sure you have many friends who call themselves Muslims, yet they drink.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So there is family pressures.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there's family pressures. And the thing is that if you really wanted to go out and see what the faith is that you really align yourself with, that you really visualize and agree with, you need to be able to break from that bond and focus on what it is that you truly believe in.
Your personal
and
kind of connection.
And for me, once I accepted Jesus, it wasn't immediate, but gradually things have been becoming aligned. Almost like the dreams that I've had have been coming true, and almost like all my aspirations, inspirations, internally, I don't feel like I have needs of luxury.
Sure.
I just need the necessities, and from that point onwards, God will fill me with joy. You know, gradually I'm focusing more on my sins and what is, you know, really taking hold of me, and I'm eliminating them bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
Now, bringing that back to my family, they don't see that. They only see this representation of me and the memories they have of me, of, you know, maybe the days of sin, maybe being misguided, or, you know, in certain cases, just being rebellious. But at the same time, they don't see the journey I've had.
Yeah.
So they could never really understand, even though all the comments they make is essentially like attacks on me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting too, because like we talk a lot about, going against the grain, and it's good to question things, you know, and decide for yourself what you believe and what you think. But a lot of times we forget the fact that those that we're close with, like, as you said, they don't see our internal journey. So they'll always kind of have this image of us that we don't feel properly represents us. So if there's anyone maybe listening to this right now that is like going through this, maybe with their family, you know, in any kind of aspect, but they really feel like, hey, like I've changed, but you can't see that, you know, and that could be frustrating. You know, I think it happens to all of us. You know, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have a huge, you know, dramatic transformation or anything. But, you know, we grow as people. Yeah. You know, and I know every time I go back home to Canada after being, you know, away for a couple of years, I'm like, oh, like you have an old image of me. Like, actually, I've changed. I've matured. You know, it could be even as simple as that. Yeah. But do you have kind of any advice to somebody that maybe is like, I'm trying, I'm changing, and I've done everything that you guys have talked about on the podcast, you know, about, you know, going against the norm and, you know, choosing truth for myself and all that, but is having a really hard time reconciling that with their family or their loved ones or their friends. Yeah. As someone that's living through a pretty intense version of that, do you have anything that you could say to kind of encourage them?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that would be, we are 3 people on a video. What you need to do is pray. There is nothing more powerful that I could recommend than pray. There you go. Like, dude, take it up to God. He will sort it out. We are just people. Me, you, and you. We're just people. Yeah. God will fix it. There you go. You know? Just be sincere. That's it.
That is really good, simple advice.
I mean, like, even when we're on the street evangelizing, how much do you think you can solve someone's problems? Oh, yeah, I'll take you here. We'll feed you this, feed you that. Dude, God can change people regardless of the scenario. Yeah. In ways you can't even comprehend.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah. I mean, so, okay, this is a religious, I guess, context. So if we, like, broaden out a little bit and just go, okay, like, what are the similarities with this? And then, I can't really think of a specific situation, but, like, if someone is questioning the things that are going on, I guess, I wish I could think of an example.
It could even be like political viewpoints.
Yeah,
you know how like politics is like a religion in the States, you know, or like
like what are the similarities here? You know, what have you done in this that can be taken on for if I have different political views to my family? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? I think the biggest point is you're making it personal, right?
Yeah.
And you're very clear about still loving your family, which
absolutely
is very mature. Like, it's so much easier to distance yourself.
And I think that happens a lot, actually, distancing yourself from those who have kind of without meaning to even
Yeah.
put that decision and put that pressure on you.
Yeah.
But obviously you haven't done that, which
No.
is class. Yeah.
No. The point is that I'm very blunt and direct, and regardless of the repercussions, I say what is on my heart. I'm upfront, so I'm not going to hide anything from you or say anything from anyone I interact with. It's just the best thing to do is be like open about it. Like, this is how I'm interacting with God, and this is me. And so when I came out to my mum, she wasn't happy about it, but it is what it is. Life will go on. You know what I mean? And like, it is a little bit complicated on my part, but at the same time, I'm upfront. So I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, I'm just doing this, that, and the other. No, I'm very upfront, because the sooner you can discuss that this is what's happening, the sooner you can continue your relationship and just show that transparency. Rather than, trying to be mischievous about it, or I'm hiding this, hiding that. I am a little bit avoidant. So, like, let's say, my family, you keep calling me up on a Sunday, I'll just be like, look, I'm busy. I'm seeing, I'm not lying to you, but at the same time, that can be
Is that
considered.
on purpose, you think? Or
What do you mean?
Like, do they purposely call you on a Sunday? Really? That's so
Why? Because they want to call me out on it, or they want to like maybe
just throw
insinuate
an
an argument. It's just like, oh yeah, but so you're choosing this over your family, and I say no. I'm choosing God over reality.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, is what it is, man. I love my family, like I said, but I need to accept that this is my journey with God, and this for me is bigger than anything that this world could offer me. It's fantastic. I'm so filled with joy. I need to like let you know right now, I'm like 9.5 out of 10. Full of joy. I am so happy. The reason, honestly, it's like the reason being is that everything that I've prayed for, God has answered one way or another.
Sure.
And yeah, I've had this connection where I just feel like I have Jesus on my shoulder right here, like this.
Sat on your lap.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sat on his
like,
lap.
But the thing is like one of the troubles that I have, like interacting with people, evangelizing. How do you give them the message that you have, the experience that you have immediately? You can't.
You can't.
Not really. You can't say, oh yeah, here's the best thing that's ever going to happen to you, and here's why you need to do this. You can't really explain that, or it's like, oh no, he's selling me a good time, that something's going on here. This can't be right. It's like, no, I'm just trying to be honest with you, bro.
Yeah, sure.
Like, this is great. And if you want this, then you have to just pray about it and give it a try. Hopefully God would direct you,
You went to see the Mecca.
I just, Mecca and Medina.
Yeah. Mate, what was that like?
It was an experience.
Yeah.
It was it was a journey.
Literally.
Do you want to
talk us through it? No, talk us.
So it started out like we got a package deal to go to Mecca, Medina and Jeddah. And essentially like you pay a fixed sum, and that covers the accommodation costs and the plane costs and the journey that you're going to have there. But you just need to bring your own money and whatnot. And to be honest, the journey was pretty difficult because it was a lot of bus riding. But at the same time, like when we got to the iconic locations, you get to see what the reality actually is at the present moment. It's a high tourist destination. So essentially it's people from all over the world visiting and performing a pilgrimage there. This is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is to visit Mecca and Medina. And yeah, we just kind of got a brief history. It's almost like a tour guide of what the essentially the message, essentially where the Islamic message is, and like the kind of trials that Muhammad went through, as well as the scenario and the environment and the I suppose the trials that had to happen for Muhammad to spread the word of Islam. And yeah, we visited these really quite like desolate locations, but there was like a village there, or a town, and it was covered by sand, and there was like a mosque or a certain area where it was just kind of like semi-populated.
Mhm.
Mecca and Medina. Mecca is like a very, very large city because it's quite a holy city. People visited and created businesses there because it's a high tourist destination.
Sure.
And Mecca is essentially where the Kaaba is located, which would then people would circulate around the Kaaba. Within the Kaaba is a black rock which has been told to have fallen from heaven, and people have a little area where they can go and actually kiss the rock.
Wow.
This area was also known, well, in certain texts, said to have like angels around it, circulating it up to heaven. So, yeah, when I was there,
Pretty intense.
Yeah, it sounds nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. So we essentially, when we were going around the Kaaba, you have to go around it 7 times in, I think it's counterclockwise. Yeah, counterclockwise way.
Okay.
And yeah, there was also a location much like the story in the Bible where there was holy water, right? Essentially, there's a location where a wife had to like travel back and forth to location 7 times looking for water until the baby started kicking and a water spring would come. That's why they call it holy water, essentially.
Right.
So we went through all of these different stages and went into the marketplaces and stuff like that. And it was quite a journey going through there. When I realized, like I performed a prayer, there was something inside of me that says that this isn't the way. When I prayed there and then, I was like, is this what it's meant to be?
Yeah.
And it kind of hit me. It's like,
Didn't feel right.
no.
Did you have like a high expectation of it? Because
Yeah,
this is like
absolutely
a huge thing.
Yeah.
So was it kind of like wait, like this is not what it's supposed to feel like? Was there any kind of that? Like,
It was an internal conflict. I tried again and again to gain, this supposed inspiration, and it didn't click with me. Something inside told me that this wasn't the way. So that was just like a dent, I suppose, in my faith at that time.
Yeah, sure.
And I could just kind of carried on as I did. I came back to England and continued my life and reflected on the past and thought to myself, well, is that a message or is something going on?
yeah.
Is that me being doubtful or is that me like actually seeing that this isn't for me?
Yeah.
Wow. That's nuts.
It is so.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so.
It is so nice. Yeah.
I'm glad you could agree on that. Yeah. Well, kind of just slowly wrap this up, but I guess taking it back to the whole idea of like not conforming to just everything that's around you and actually making your own decisions. I guess a highlight. I mean, sure, we'll do highlights, but highlight for me is like that. Like I love that it didn't feels like this change or whatever. It wasn't like rebellion because people have made you do this and things like that. Like I feel like often there's a lot of situations out there that's like, oh man, my parents have made me do this, and so I'm just gonna do whatever is the opposite, just out of spite and out of like the fact that control, and so I feel like for you, like you've actually you've gone and done it, and you've gone and got stuck in and actually tried to find truth in what they were kind of in what was around you, and you didn't find truth there, so you went looking, so I love that. I don't know, it's just come out of like genuine like you're really searching for what is supposed to be filling that void almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
that's super cool.
I deeply reflected on where I was and what I believed. And I tried, it's not like I didn't. I tried really, really hard to say, if this is the faith for me, show me. And I didn't find it. I just found confusion. I found desperation. I found like this is, I'm so unin touch with what this is about that I can't continue with this. So that's when I did become rebellious. That's when I did say, all right, you know what, F it. I'm just going to do what I want.
Screw it off.
Yeah, I'm going to do
That
what
was
I
for
want.
Lucas.
So then I just, I was out doing mine. What I thought was enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, if I had limited existence, then, I tried to fill it any way, shape or form. And it wasn't until I found this that I'm satisfied.
There we go. And now,
Brilliant.
before we go as well, you told us a little anecdote before we started this about like how your family is now with you, and I don't know, when you guys were playing the not drawful but drawful game. Do you want to share that?
Yeah.
Because
okay.
I think it's
That's
pretty
so
hilarious.
funny. Yeah, it is funny. Yeah.
And just it helps with the way that your family perceives you now, but also the way that you can like have banter with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not a sensitive person whatsoever. You say something, I'm going to take it as a joke. It's like, even if it's personal, it's cool. You know what I mean? So my family know this, and we were playing this game. It's called Champed Up. It's on the Jackbox games, Jackbox 7, and it's basically you get to draw like champions and stuff like that. And I think it was like Champion of Jesus Christ or something, right? Or something like that. I'm not sure. But my family literally drew me on a cross. And it was my little sister and my mum, which I consider to be the most innocent.
Honestly, that is so brutal.
Yeah,
It's like,
so
oh my
savage.
God. It's like, all right, cool. But like,
It's nice. It's
what it
light
is.
though.
Yeah.
That's
I was like,
funny. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Like when I saw it, I said, Mum. And then she started laughing.
Oh, that's
like,
class.
That was
yeah.
really nice.
That's
I
good
love
banter,
it.
mate.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
It is.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
pretty
funny.
great.
I do love them.
Yes.
Yeah, very much.
Brilliant. Sam, thank you so much, mate,
Yeah.
for coming on.
My
Genuinely.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah. And I think, as we always say, we love to hear people's stories.
Yeah, man.
But it is, I think, so helpful to hear someone who's gone through this. Like, just kind of, family is tough, man. Like,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
no matter who you are,
Yeah.
Especially in this area. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like religion.
it's so
Huge.
tough.
Yeah. It's
Um,
huge.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing like your story and not
Yeah.
holding anything back with us,
Thank you.
because I think everyone, no matter who you are, can take something from this.
Yeah.
But before we go, we wanted to give you the space now. You have 30 seconds to plug whatever you would like to plug, including your business. So go for it.
Cool beans. So I own a construction business. I'm a construction contractor, and essentially I do all sorts of construction stuff, and I have a small team to help me. So, if you got anything you need building wise, think of me.
There you go.
Wait, what was it?
There was a jingle, but I
Yeah,
can't remember it.
It was
LTD.
Borg.
Oh, there. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Do I look in camera or what? Do I?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
straight.
okay,
Eye
yeah.
contact.
Okay.
Let's
You
go.
want some eye contact? Here we are. Yeah. So, Borg Construction Ltd. Need anything in your home? Think of me.
That was class.
That's it.
Oh, that's so good.
Brilliant. You're in London. Yeah. Exactly. We'll try to edit a
Yeah,
slow
yeah.
zoom into you.
Just your face
Just
coming
your
up in
face.
screen and then like at the end of the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Sam speaks a bunch of stuff around
Yeah.
either the church or
Oh,
our
actually, though,
houses
yeah,
or friends'
no,
houses.
genuinely, yeah. Ledge.
Super talented. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And
Brilliant.
as well, you can find us, as always, guys, the Anchor of the Week on YouTube,
Yes.
on Instagram,
Yeah.
on TikTok, all the places. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for tuning, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.